So the mission behind the course, and it still stands today, is to really help practitioners stand out in terms of their knowledge and understanding and experience with educational assessment topics wherever in the world it happens or has to be done well, which, as you can imagine, is in a lot of different professional contexts. The course itself is 15 months in duration. So this cohort year would be from September 2025 to December 2026. It's a part-time course, and it's designed with essentially for people who are in full-time employment or with other responsibilities. And it's flexible in the sense of the blended learning approach that I'll show you in the next couple of slides about how people get the most out of the course. So it's part-time, and it's also exclusively online. We have a set of online day schools that people join from all around the world in a variety of different time zones. And they take place on three of the four of them take place on Saturdays, but there is one early on in the course that takes place on a Friday. The course itself is the equivalent of half a master's at level 7 in the qualifications framework. So that is 90 credits. And I'll show you later on about, for those of you interested in going onto a full master's program, how you can actually transport or translate those credits to future study after the course is finished. In terms of the types of people who have taken the course in the past, we've actually, and one of the great strengths of the course is in the variety of people from a variety of different educational contexts. So we've had, generally speaking, about 20 to 25% of students who have taken the course are teachers, many UK based, but quite a few are overseas based as well. We have members of examination boards or awarding organisations, both in the kind of A-level and GCSE context, but also in vocational context as well. University staff, so lecturers or research associates or teaching fellows who are really interested in improving assessment design, particularly at the moment with the challenges of AI. Members of professional organisations, so it's always a surprise really where to me when I'm looking at the applications of the variety of the different areas where professional expertise has to be accredited and rewarded appropriately, and that's where assessment often comes in. And we also have students who have come from educational ministries or who are involved with educational reform-based projects as well. So it's a real strength of the course, the variety of the different perspectives and who you get to know on the course itself. Just a key point that it is open to international student applications. There's no visa requirements or anything like that because the course is delivered exclusively online. So it was a decision we took a couple of years ago to make the course as accessible as possible, and that we open it up through an online-only delivery model. And just a quick final key fact really is that the application deadline is the 9th of July 2025. So in terms of what you develop your expertise in over the course itself and the 15 months that you're participating, fundamentally, the key thing is an in-depth understanding of the key concepts and issues within the field of educational assessment. And I'll show you on the next couple of slides the unit structure that we adopt to help you as a student develop your expertise, really with the idea of developing this critical and reflective approach through research, through study of the key theories and ideas that are really at the cutting edge of educational assessment. And it really helps you make better decisions fundamentally in the design decisions, how you use data, how you use AI, and all the other futures of assessment that you may be interested in at the moment. And a key strength of the course is that we link the theoretical to the practical, and we do that through the assignment structure that we have within the course itself. As part of the course, you develop skills in research methods, including critical awareness of things like how you validate your assessments appropriately, and also how you collect data in an ethical way. And also, as a general benefit of the course as well, the kind of 21st century skills that you develop your expertise in planning, organization, academic writing, which really puts you in a good stead to show your to raise your status as a practitioner over your career. The course itself is designed to meet the modern day challenges in assessment and learning. So this is just a screen grab of back in 2021 when or towards the end of 2021 when AI suddenly became much more pervasive in the discourse in terms of education and educational assessment. So how are we going to make the changes that we need to make to meet the challenges for things like academic integrity, the threats to the validity of the assessment world that we're working in at the moment? And how do we leverage something like AI to help with things like personalization of assessment? These are the sorts of questions that we study in depth during the course itself. And the peer support that you get from your fellow students can really help with this, because they're either dealing with quite similar challenges or they've already thought of some different strategies that you could adopt in the future. These are some of the questions that you may be thinking about as you're contemplating applying for the course. So, what is the latest thinking about digital and AI-based assessment? How can I justify the reforms or the changes that I want to make to assessment practice or to pedagogy and education in the future? For example, if you're a teacher, how do I assess or review the success of the changes that I've made? How do I become a leader in a professional context? The course is designed to build up your how you respond to these types of questions. And how do I affect the change that I think is necessary within my role itself? One of the things that we try and focus on in the assignments is how you go about doing this, how you become a leader in your organization, how you affect the culture of your organization and how assessment is done. And how can I maintain trust? One way of thinking about assessments is what you call a Ming bars. Something that's really valuable. Trust can be lost relatively quickly if we make mistakes in terms of the decisions that we make. So, how do I equip myself for the skills required to make sure that I maintain the trust in the assessments that I use? In terms of how former students have spoken about the course, these are just some quotations from the feedback form that we ask students to fill out at the end of the course. And I think there's a number of key themes here that are worth talking about. So the first one here at the top in bold, I have more confidence in dealing with the technical issues of assessment. And that's something that we really value on the course is thinking critically about the individual components of what assessment is. So understanding what reliability is and how that contributes to fairness or to the standards of a qualification or an assessment. Why are those things important in your educational practice? The second quotation here said the course has allowed me to look at assessment from a different angle. So as I mentioned before, we have a variety of different students, lecturers, tutors, and supervisors that give and take you outside of your day-to-day work and really bring in a lot of new ideas for you to implement and apply in your context. It's better equip me with the skills needed to influence change. So a real focus of the assignment is the process of how you as an individual practitioner change for the better your practices, and how you, for example, connect assessment with curriculum and other important ideas in broader education. And the final point here is a really interesting one. I was able to change to a career in assessment, and that might actually be something that many of you looking at taking this course are thinking about. And with that in mind, I just wanted to give you a flavour of the sorts of destinations that students have moved on to following graduation from the course. This was just an example or a flavour of some of the different job titles that people have moved into in the last couple of years since graduating. So it may be the kind of director level type role if you're interested in moving within an awarding organisation or moving into an examination board and so on. Many of our students have moved on to go to senior positions within those institutions. If you're working within a school, we've seen examples of former students moving into SLT and to particularly into assessment leads because they've really earmarked themselves out of being an assessment expert within their school system. people who are interested in developing good assessment-related products have moved into senior roles in that particular space. Some have moved into assessment research, so taking the skills that they've gathered through the research methods part of the program to move into master's courses or into assessment research within an awarding organisation, for example. Some former students have also moved into freelance educational assessment consultancy, so working with NGOs and other large-scale organisations that are looking to implement assessment reforms. And actually, some former students have actually joined the course as a supervisor or a tutor as well. So that is a potential pathway for at least some of the students. Because you've developed your expertise and you've really shown your abilities at master's level, it opens up a whole range of different potential career pathways. So this is just a flavour of the options that may be available to you. In terms of the structure of the course, it's very much a blended learning program. So we have a variety of live sessions interspersed with online learning that's supported by our unit tutors. And there's a series of webinars and various other activities as well to help bring the content to life somewhat. So I've already mentioned the 4 online day schools. So you can see in the right-hand column of this image here, and we've got the dates or the provisional dates for the day schools. So if you are interested in applying for the course, it's probably worth noting those down in readiness for the online day schools. Within the course itself, there's 12 webinars, and these are a mixture of sessions related to the research methods elements of the course, but there's also a variety of guest speakers that we ask to talk about the latest thinking in a variety of different assessment related topics. Overall, over the 15-month period, there are 32 content weeks, so 10 weeks associated with Unit 1, 12 weeks associated with Unit 2, and 10 weeks associated with Unit 3. And you can see in the table here that you actually have a choice for Unit 2. So option A is assessment, design, and evaluation. So this is if you're perhaps more interested in the summative side of assessment. For example, many people from awarding organisations choose this particular unit. Or if you have a teaching background or you're interested in informative assessment, you could choose option 2B. So that's assessment for learning. Each unit is completely unique and it has a different unit tutor for each option. And what's really interesting about this is that it just gives you a bit of variety, a bit of choice for you to decide where you really want to specialise. Or the majority of the students, probably about 2/3, choose option 2A, but there is a significant minority that also choose option 2B. Throughout the course, you also have the support of your supervisor, and this is a really key relationship because they support you through the assignments. There are 3 assignments in total, each one around 4,000 words, and associated with each unit. So 1 for Unit 1, 1 for Unit 2, and 1 for Unit 3. You maintain that relationship with the same supervisor throughout. So it's a strong bond or a strong connection that you have throughout the course, a really key relationship. And of course, being the University of Cambridge, you'll have access to the various facilities that are available to University of Cambridge students, such as full library facility access, and the librarians and the support around helping you understand the literature and to get the best use of the facilities. It's really world class, so that's something to look forward to as well. This is just a quick image here of the different guest speakers that we have, and these are people that are really at the forefront of educational assessment thinking. So Tim Oates from the University of Cambridge, Ernesto Panadero from the University of Dublin, Teresa Hoftenbach from Australia. These people are the key figures or the key names that that you interact with students on the course. So it's again a really great touch point for speaking to the key minds in educational assessment imminently, which is a catch up with Bethan Cottrell, who's a student who finished in January last year. Welcome, Bethan, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us for this information webinar for potential students of the PACES in educational assessment. I just wanted to give you a chance to speak to our potential students about your experiences on the course and what you've been up to since you graduated around a year ago. Thank you for taking time, and hopefully you find this an enjoyable reflection on what you've been doing since graduating.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Simon.
Great. So there's just a couple of questions that we have for you. So the first one is related to what you've been up to since you completed the course, and in the 1 year since you finished. What do you think are the knowledge and the skills that you've most valued in your work and career?
So my background into PACES, which is part of why I am really happy to be here recommending it, is that I've not studied education prior to doing PACES. I had my academic background was in visual arts, and then I found my way into working in education by working in graphic design for schools and being a visiting artist at schools. So all of the knowledge I had was really practice-based, and um, I began working at the International Baccalaureate in assessment production nearly 6 years ago, and immediately sort of fell in love with assessment. Just found it really interesting. I hated exams growing up, and it was so interesting to be part of the really necessary work of making this important task with important consequences, doing what I can to improve that for everyone, really. And so, yeah, I came into PACES with no academic background in education, is the point. And the massive thing that PACES gave me was having a vocabulary to describe assessment issues at work confidently. I wouldn't necessarily say an academic vocabulary, although PACES was a route into that for me, and I've continued with study this year, and I'm loving that. But I think it doesn't necessarily have to be an academic language, just a language to debate, discuss, to feel confident showing up, advocating for the choices that you're making as a practitioner. So yeah, the readings were brilliant. The ways in which we engaged with the readings, and but I really would emphasize that even though it's academic study, it just like gave me that vocabulary as a practitioner. So that was just a really huge asset for me.
And you mentioned there that that the background that you had wasn't necessarily in assessment, and you've sort of built up your expertise over, well, in your job role, but supplemented it with the course as well. Since you graduated a year ago, what opportunities, and you mentioned actually the course that you're currently doing now, what opportunities do you think that taking PACES has opened up to you since completing it?
Yes, so I'm currently doing it's the Master's in Education in Transforming Practice, and that is the master's route that PACES can connect to. And I applied for that after finishing PACES because I was still curious, basically, and I still am, to be honest. I'm really enjoying the master's. It's an MEd in Transforming Practice, so it is for practitioners, not just for assessment practitioners. So on the course with me are a lot of teachers, people working in other education capacities like therapy and developmental psychology and things. So it's quite varied in terms of practitioners, broader than PACES, which again is interesting because, like Simon, you were just saying, people come from a lot of different backgrounds, even just within education, within assessment, I mean. So it's fascinating meeting a lot more people, a lot more perspectives to kind of build my perspective via. But yeah, I would say the reason I carried on is because I was still curious about things. I felt like I had a lot more to learn. I still have a lot more to learn. and also felt like throughout PACES and through this master's, I think because I'm studying my own work, and that's what PACES is really explicit, really clear about, and I really like that about the course. Studying my work it just makes me more interested in my work, to be honest. I feel like I'm showing up every day, understanding what theories and uh, what thinking the practical decisions I'm making every day would connect with. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah, thanks for that, and thank you for taking the time to speak to us and the students indirectly. Of course, I'm sure they found it really interesting and useful to hear your perspectives. And yeah, thank you for your time, and yeah, good luck with the rest of the masters, and hope to see you soon.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Simon.
So hopefully in the presentation so far, I've maybe inspired you or sort of raised your motivation for finding out more about the course and potentially applying. So in terms of the application process, we'd like to think that it's relatively straightforward, but it is a master's level course, so there are a few hoops to jump through. So the key bit of information is that the deadline is the 9th of July in 2025. And here's the link for the application portal on the right-hand side. So essentially, you create an account in the application portal, and you select within the portal the course that you're interested in applying for. And there's a variety of supporting documents that you need to submit as part of your application through the portal. So the first thing to write is a personal statement, and I'll give you an indication of the sorts of things that we're looking for from the personal statement. Um, there's a requirement for a copy of your passport, so or ID card, some kind of appropriate identification. Any qualifications that you have, if you can provide transcripts and certificates for those, that would be very useful to support the speed of the application. And the final, excuse me, the final thing to include are contact details for 2 referees. So this is just to vouch for your motivation for taking the course, and for example, if it's your employer that's offering funding for the course, to show that they're going to support you through the course as well. So in terms of the application criteria, and this is the basis for which we judge whether you as a potential student are ready for taking the course. We would like to know a little bit about your experience working in an assessment or an educational setting. So if you've been a teacher, or if you've worked for an assessment organization, or you've been an examiner, the kind of experience that you have. And connected to this is the motivations that you have for learning from the course. So what kind of improvements are you looking to make in your educational practice as a result of taking the course? A key thing that we're looking for as well is a motivation and willingness to engage with the academic and professional literature. So because it is a master's level course, there is a lot of reading to be done, academic papers and so on, which can be quite a change for students based on whatever their professional backgrounds have been historically. So you outlining what your keen interests are is very beneficial to an application. Also, because you, as much support as we give on the course, you are, as a natural consequence of doing it, you're working independently a lot of the time. So, an indication of the experience that you have, perhaps if you've taken previous courses before that show that you're able to work independently. And also, if you're based overseas, details of relevant English qualifications. So some things that you could include are what areas of assessment that you're most interested in finding out more about in your professional context. You may also want to include which unit option you'd like to study and why. Um, as you say this, you don't actually have to confirm your choice until the November once you've started the course. So if you're not sure at this stage which option is best for you, feel free to leave that open. You don't need to mention it at this particular stage. What work development opportunities do you think the course will give you in the future? And any experience of either online learning or master's level courses that you may have taken in the past? That's just useful information for us to know. In terms of some of the frequently asked questions, and some of these may have come in the chat box already, but I can't actually see the chat box yet. So hopefully I'll address some of your questions as they're coming through. So one of the key questions that people ask is, how much time as a student do I spend on study per week? And as I mentioned before, there's 32 teaching weeks and 3 assignments, and that's over a 15-month period. There is actually a summer break period between July and August. So if you are working for an awarding organisation that has a summer series, or summer in the UK, I should say, there is an opportunity for a bit of a break period, summer holidays, and those sorts of things. So there is an acknowledgement of that workload at that particular time. So 32 teaching weeks over a 15-month period. I would say that it's roughly 5 to 6 hours study per contact week. This can ebb and flow a little bit depending on the nature of the tasks and the activities that are posted within the each week of any one unit. And there may be a little bit of a bottleneck towards assignment deadlines as well, but we think it's well spaced over that 15 months. We do encourage people to attend the day schools. Now, we know that things can happen. You know, people can be ill, or there can be some kind of emergency that means that you have to miss a day school. But we think it's important that you plan ahead as much as possible so you can attend the day schools, because you get so much key information and so much useful contact with students that and guest speakers and so on, that you should really plan for attending the day schools as much as possible. You can pay fees in installments if you want to spread the cost. So that can be arranged with the finance team at the Faculty of Education, and there's the email address to inquire if indeed that you think that would be a preferable option for you. Another question that people ask is, can I transfer my credits from this course to another postgraduate course later on? So as I mentioned before, the 90 credits that you take from this particular course, you can use those to apply for the Transforming Practice course at the Faculty of Education. And that's a kind of automatic eligibility that you would have because it's within the University of Cambridge. If you want to take the 90 credits and transfer that to another program at another university, it's up to the receiving university to accept those credits. So you need to inquire with them directly if that's the case. There are occasionally some students who don't have an undergraduate degree. So a common question that's asked is, can I still apply for that course? And the answer to this is yes, but it's considered on a case-by-case basis. So as part of your application, we ask you to outline your professional experience and any qualifications that you do have that may be building up to master's level. And we understand that there are people that come from a diverse range of backgrounds. So as long as your professional experience is appropriate, we can make a case for you to be accepted onto this program. Another question is, particularly for overseas students, is, do I need to have formal English language qualifications? The answer is not necessarily, but it would be beneficial if you do have English language certificates available to you, just so we know for sure that your English is up to the standards required for an academic course at level 7 at master's level. You can find out more about the master's options after the course at this link here. So that's something for you to look at if indeed you want to build up towards a full master's. And a final one is, are there any discounts available? Somebody asks this every year. Unfortunately, not for this course at this time. The fees are set by a central university office, so we're not allowed to negotiate on any of the pricing structures that we currently have. You may have already seen some of the information that's available on the website, but just as a notification here, there is more information that you can find out on the web page, including the link to the application portal. So I can see that there's about 50 of you at the session at the moment, which is a great number. So thank you for participating and for your attention. There is an opportunity to answer questions as they come through, and I'm just seeing what has popped up on the screen. So Andy, have there been any questions so far?
Yeah, Simon, there's been two questions for you to answer. The
Okay.
first one is from Bushra, which is this course available online or can it be a hybrid?
Well, it is exclusively online. So that is one of the decisions actually that we made a couple of years ago, because there was some talk about whether we would have a face-to-face element. So it's exclusively online, mainly for the purpose of accessibility of students around the world, because we know that there would be a cost implication if we were to have, for example, face-to-face day schools. So it was a conscious decision on that basis, to try and bring in as many perspectives as possible, because that was actually a real benefit of the course. So something that we're keen on maintaining in the future. So there's no plans at this stage to bring a kind of more hybrid version at this time.
And then there's another question, Simon, which kind of relates to the question you just answered from
Yeah.
Akanksha, which says, can anyone from anywhere around the world apply for this course?
Yes. So as mentioned earlier, there are no visa uh, limitations on this particular course. So as long as you meet the criteria for approval onto the course program, some of the things that I mentioned in the application process, then in theory there's no barrier. One thing that some students need or some students need to be aware of is that depending on if you have an undergraduate degree from an international institution, we always look for a kind of equivalence level. So in the UK, we'd be looking for what's called a 2-1 degree classification for your undergraduate degree. So we have a kind of spreadsheet and a table of, depending on which country you're from, what grade classification you have for your undergraduate degree. We try and check for comparability with the 2-1 level of a UK institution. So that just makes us sure that you've studied to the sufficient level at undergrad to be eligible for the course. So that's something that we check depending on where your background is, where your first degree may be from.
We've got a question come through from Russell, Simon, which is,
Yeah.
what is the grading scale for the units on the course? And how would this affect a future application for the MED?
Okay, yeah, thanks, Russell. That's a really good question. We, as assessment experts, we're obviously very careful about how we pitch the standards and the standard setting and all the moderation and so on as part of that. We actually use a pass, not yet pass standard for each of the individual units. So we expect the students to pass all 3 assignments to gain the 90 credits. But if you were to move on to the Transforming Practice Masters, they have a merit distinction kind of grading model as well. So you would fit into that particular grading model, but only for the 90 credits. So it's almost like you've received a pass for the first, or sorry, a merit for the first half of the course, and then the second half, including the dissertation, has its own kind of grading scale as a result of that. So that hopefully that explains the way that your credits are ported over to the Transforming Practice MED. Just to add to Russell's point as well, or Russell's question, so essentially, once you've passed the PACES course, there's a small gap in terms of so you get the results of the course and the final outcome in the February, and then the deadline for the Transforming Practice Masters is in May. So you have about a 3-month period to have your confirmed 90 credits and say, I have these 90 credits. Can I please transfer onto the master's course from that point? So there's a security in knowing that you've passed and that you've attained the 90 credits. Great. So I don't think there are any more questions coming through, Andy. So we can probably. Yes. So the course fee and the information about that is on the course website. So you can get the latest information about it should be right at the top of the page. I think that's already been shared, but I'm sure my team can share it again. Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Oh, Sorry, one final question that's come through. Do I have to send my proficiency English certificate? You don't have to send the actual certificate. Just a copy of it, a photocopy or something like that is absolutely fine for the application. Right. Thanks, everyone. See you soon.